So welcome to hashtag 52 Needs. And this week we're talking about authenticity. Welcome, Adrian and Ash.
Hello, Angela.
Okay, well, let me quickly introduce you to those who don't know you. So Ash is the TV and radio host of Ash London Live on the Hit Network. She's the mom to greyhound Honey with baby on the way. And Adrian Brine is the former assistant head of the Hit Network at Southern Cross Austereo. And he's currently practicing being a stay-at-home dad to Honey. And he's working very hard on a startup so he can support his growing family. Welcome, guys. And good to see you, the three of you. And Honey's not in the room.
You. Yes. No, Honey's not here. No,
Usually this is where I work and Honey's always asleep in the corner, and it's getting to the point where the artists that I speak to are like, where's Honey?
Yeah.
Isn't she usually there? And then she farts and it's too late. It's too smelly and she's sleeping somewhere else.
Yeah. Okay. So we're talking about authenticity at work. And I know for you, a lot of work is being public and being on social media and being on radio and TV and all of that. But I also want to talk about the public persona that you have or the public person that you are authentically. But I also want to talk about you as the colleague, both of you.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any difference between you as a colleague and the person you shows up on Instagram, for example?
What do you think from your perspective? You've worked with me and you live with me.
I think it's the exact same person that shows up to work that is on Instagram that I see. I don't see any difference at all. I think you're lucky to be in an environment, a radio environment, where you get to be your complete authentic self anyway, because it's encouraged and there's a safe space for you to be able to do that. I don't think, in fact, have you worked in like a real job place before? Because
a while ago when I was young, it was not for me.
Yeah, because I think that's you're fortunate to be in that environment that you can just be yourself like that. But I don't honestly see, and I think most people would say, what you see on Instagram is what you see in a work environment with Ash, in the studio with her team. I think that's
sometimes I wish, because conversely, because we've worked together, sometimes I do wish I could. I mean, Adrian's one of the best bosses I think I've ever seen, the best people managers, but you have an incredible ability to be yourself, but also have the kind of boundaries at work that I think it would be a bit healthier if I did have. I'm no one's boss though. Like you were a boss, and I'm really not in a position of power over people. So it's a bit different.
Yeah.
I get away with a lot more because I'm, talent or whatever. But sometimes there are moments where I think maybe I could not take this too personally and maybe put some more boundaries out. But I never will, Angela. Like I'm 35 now. It's done.
Okay, so Adrian, I mean, this is more directed at you. Sometimes it's not appropriate to be your true self at work when you deal with colleagues and with bosses and all of that. So there's a so-called cultural appropriateness required.
Yeah, okay, so this is a really interesting conversation because I don't know if I buy into that as much, and maybe that's why when I get to the top as I kind of was, I started to feel potentially a little uncomfortable because I think a lot of people either feel they have to be political in those environments and they have to say the right things or be seen as saying the right things to their team, or whereas I never really did that, and that either one was the wrong thing to do, but I think it endears the people that you work with, to you when you can be as authentic and real as possible with them. So if something's not going as well as it should be, most leaders would probably get up and go, oh, well, we're on the right path and everything that we've planned is working and it's all going to be fine and this is what, whereas I would never do that. I would get up and go, you know what, we're in a bit of a tough spot here and this is not working. I need a bit more from you and this is where I think we can improve things and whatever. And they appreciate the honesty and the authenticity around that response, because they can see through the other one. It's like if you're really playing the political game, they pick it straight away, and they're like, I don't believe you. I don't believe that that's how you really feel. Like,
and then they don't trust you.
And then they don't trust you.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a trust thing. And so, yes, there's definitely a line, but I think blur that line in a good way a lot of the time, because it just didn't feel natural to me to pretend or lie to them or tell them something that wasn't true. I'd much rather give them the honest truth, and sometimes potentially too honest. But that would, give us another conversation to have after that. It's like, oh, well, I really struggled hearing that. It's like, okay, well, that's the reality. I'm not going to sugarcoat. That's where we're at. So let's have a chat about that instead. That's one thing. And also, I think the other thing for me is listening, like being a genuine listener. Yeah. And that's something I really tried to do. And I got that from my boss, Dave, who was just really great at it. You knew that you had his entire attention when you went to see him. You just feel like you're the only person in the world that was important at that time. So I really tried to do that as well. And when you listen to people and really hear them out, because again, if you're sitting in that meeting and you're distracted and you're not showing your authentic self with them in that moment, they'll pick it. And they'll walk away from that going, oh, well, he doesn't really have an interest. Yeah. So,
but then would you argue that some leaders' authentic selves really don't care about people?
Yeah, totally.
So in that case, you're being authentic, but you're being a crappy leader.
Yeah, totally. And that's another way to lead. And it's not my way, but it's definitely, and it can be very successful for people that they do that. Maybe they don't have the same connections with the team that I've had over the past, but they can still be very good leaders with that kind of approach. It's just very different to mine.
Yeah. It's and that's the difference also between the two of you. I mean, you become more. That's the wrong word. It's not that you become more authentic, but you're peeling back the layers a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. I mean, when Ash gets on radio and TV, it's like, I'm here. I can't peel. You can't peel back the layers very carefully and go. give me 2 seconds. Give me a week to tell you about who I am. You got to show up right then and there. Whereas when you're working in an organization, it's not really easy to go and again, like disclose yourself in the first 5 minutes and saying, this is me, what's and all. You got to build the trust first, so that when you come across as an authentic leader and saying it's not all unicorns, rainbows, and sunshine, that when people hear that, they can take that in context and not go, oh my God, this leader has just lost all credibility because that was oversharing. I really didn't want to know that. So it's the ability to pace it out and saying, okay, now I can go to the next layer.
Yeah. And I think that means in my job, I can get away with things that maybe earlier in my career would have brought on more judgment. And that's kind of one of the downsides of what I do, is that whatever you say is public and you're held accountable. Yeah. But now I feel, and I used to get really stressed earlier on that people would always get the wrong idea about me. Oh God, I said a dumb thing because I overshared. But now I think because I have been so authentic from day one, people know that at the core, I am a good person and I love animals and these things about me that, because I've been so honest about, people know. So I get a bit more, she didn't actually mean it that way. They give me some grace, which I think I didn't get earlier on in my career. And I feel more confident now to be more authentic. And part of that is just growing up and caring less, I think, what people say. Early on in my career, even in more recent times, Adrian will know I've been really almost paralyzed by what will people think of me, what will people say, what are they saying on the internet. But as I get older, it's a mixture of caring less and also working hard to kind of cement the idea that I'm not a bad person, and people they like it, they know me. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Okay. Well, there are a lot of people in the world who don't know who they are, and they are just they just react to what their perception of that other people have of them. So they see themselves through other people's eyes. Whereas when it's like you, it's like, this is me, take me as I am.
Yeah, and I worry when I, obviously we have a lot of young people that interact with my show and socially and on air and all those sorts of things. And I think because we are raising people in a society where we're not forcing people to ask the hard questions and be honest with themselves and be honest with each other and have hard face-to-face confrontations, I think I worry for people that they're never going to have that opportunity, like we've both done the work. We've sat in front of countless psychologists and therapists and had tough conversations with loved ones and both been through grief and things like that force you to peel away those layers, and it hurts, but you're left with a much better version. And I think some people will never have that opportunity, and through my broadcast I hope that I can encourage people to have some of those conversations, but it's a tiny kind of drop in the ocean.
That requires, as a leader, the ability to say, here I am. So I'm willing to have this conversation with you. I am willing to show up. Whereas a lot of leaders don't do that. They don't encourage that kind of openness. And a lot of the people they work with, therefore, don't trust themselves to be able to give the leader the feedback or have that conversation by saying, yeah, I'd really love to be honest with you right now, because there's always that, there could be politics behind that, as Adrian was saying, or there could be, again, fear of having a conversation. And I know here in Australia, people are really scared to have honest conversations. There's a lot of, let's have that conversation, and then gone they are. There's nothing, absolutely nothing. Whereas when you're really authentic and you can, and again, you come from that self-reference point, then it's easy to have the conversation because you don't have to be afraid that it's going to destroy your self-worth.
Yeah, another Brenéism. So to bring Brené Brown up again, but her notion of clear is kind and unclear is unkind. We avoid tough conversations because we don't want to be mean. Yes. So we allow people to remain in roles that they shouldn't be in anymore, or we allow bad behaviour to continue because we don't want to have the awkwardness. Yeah. But that's not being kind, that's being unkind. And I think Adrian's probably better at that than me in a work sense of like having those tough conversations in a way that is beneficial and kind. Whereas because I still have a lot of, I need everyone to like me, I probably find it harder to have conversations about behaviour that needs to change.
Yeah, just from the nature of the work that you do in radio, it's giving people feedback all the time, feedback on their performance on a daily basis. And, the feedback that I got about my feedback was that it was always, it sometimes can be harsh for them to hear, or it can be a lot for them to take. And, there was Will and Woody called me the Muhammad Ali of feedback at times, because I just kind of come in and just bang like that. That wasn't good enough today with it. But it was always, it's exactly what I needed to hear. It's exactly what I needed to hear. And that's all that I ever tried to achieve in that feedback, is like, just tell people what they need to hear and they will get better. And that's the only way you can really do it. The more time you waste around the edges, pretending or fluffing them up or giving them the compliment sandwich or whatever, it's wasting everybody's time. Yeah. Just get on with it.
Yeah.
And then I think we all agree that when it comes from a place of love and from a place of, I want this person to be the best version of themselves, then it's received very differently than when it comes from that ego place or that place of, I just need to, that's not authentic. When somebody says, I'm just to help you, but I'm going to slam you down so that you know who's the boss.
Yeah, that's a crappy feeling. I've had both kinds of leadership and it's not fun when someone's just doing their best to control you to make themselves feel bigger, as opposed to, I'm delivering tough feedback, but it's going to make you better. I still remember the tough feedback I got from Craig Bruce years ago that at the time was a bit like, ugh, but has made me an infinitely better, broadcaster. So everyone wins, but no one teaches us how to have those conversations.
Yeah.
Apart from you.
No, I think again, authenticity is not necessarily authenticity, and because it requires also a vulnerability on the person delivering the feedback to saying, I'm very. I mean, when I give people feedback, and when I always say, please test everything and dismiss what insults your soul.
Yeah.
Because this is my perception, and please let's have a discussion about it. If that's not how you perceive it, let's talk about it. But don't take it, don't swallow it whole and all, and then go home and go, oh my God, this is terrible. But also don't dismiss it offhand and go, she's got absolutely no idea. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, the best talent that I've worked with are the ones that give it back to you when you give them a bit of feedback. It's like, well, actually, I don't agree with that, or I'm doing that because you don't know that this is why I have to deliver it that way. It's like, okay, cool, now I get it. But let's not just you take my feedback and then get really pissed off and then come back to me and deliberately not do it on the air, because that's not going to help anybody. It's not working. Yeah. So that's what you want. Is you want a bit of pushback.
Yeah, passive aggressive is definitely not authentic. No. When somebody starts saying things on air,
it's the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so so it looks like we've got a bit of a lag here at the moment.
Yeah, I think so.
Hear me?
Yeah, still got you.
Okay, great. Okay. So when you're at work and you're sharing yourself authentically, we talked about, yes, layers. Okay, but peel back a bit more slowly. But how far you peel back, that's totally cultural, right?
Yeah. I'm naked at this point. Like, there's no more peeling. You're going to get bone.
Yeah.
Sometimes to my detriment. But I've learned to really embrace that in the end. I think I felt bad for it for a while. I thought, it's too much. You actually got to protect yourself. But I think I've really come to embrace it and really know that people don't get enough of that. And I hope that my authenticity gives others permission to also be authentic. Because I'm not in a position of power over people, it's a bit different. I know I have influence, but I don't have power per se. I'm not doing people's, like contracts and deciding who gets to stay in jobs and things like that. So I'm in this kind of cool spot where I have influence but not so much power, and I have a young team that I work with that I care about really deeply. That I started out in media as a 24-year-old and had to deal with things that were really crappy, and I don't want that for especially the young women that I work with. So my authenticity, I think, has a lot to do with educating them and making them feel like they can be themselves and shouldn't have to make apologies for themselves and shouldn't have to fit into any kind of, stereotypes that women are expected to. And I take that kind of really seriously, especially as a woman. So I've learned to stop feeling so bad about the level of healing I've done. I think the one thing I need to get better at is maybe just admitting when I'm wrong and apologizing when I haven't handled something well, or when I have been wrong or haven't thought about something, or come late and not thought that that's going to affect 4 other people's jobs today. So I need to get better at that.
Yeah, I mean, owning, we haven't talked about it much, but owning your mistakes is the most authentic thing that you can probably do in a work environment, certainly as a leader. Just being accountable and saying, that was my bad, that wasn't right. Because they just see, oh, right, he's normal, he makes mistakes just like me. It's okay to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Cool. He's building an environment where it's okay to make mistakes, which encourages me to take more risks, which means everything's going to be cool.
Yeah.
So I think, owning the mistakes is another big one.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so much better than blaming someone, isn't it?
Yeah. We always go searching, don't we? That first thing is, who is to blame here?
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so a lot of people, again, when there's a leader who's honest, who's straightforward, again, you don't have to, and now this is my standard saying that I share with my clients. You don't have to take people home for a barbecue on the weekend. You don't have to bare your deepest, darkest secrets, but share yourself on a level where you have a connection with somebody. So when you connect with them, they know you. They don't go, this is just a task and we're just doing something together here for the greater good of the company or whatever it is. But we know each other as human beings. So when things go pear-shaped, we can say we've known each other in the good times, we can get through the bad times together as well. But a lot of people don't really want to do that. They just go, we just work together and that's all good. But then when things do go pear-shaped, they go, but we've been working together. Yeah, but we've never built trust. I have no idea who you are.
Takes a lot of energy to do that. Like I was going to say before, like being too authentic sometimes can be really tough going, because it feels like you take on so much and you feel like you've got all that kind of expectation and weight sometimes, which
and then it becomes a performance.
That's right.
And exhausting, which is the opposite.
A lot of people don't want to do that work. It's too hard to be that authentic and have those real conversations and develop those connections, because that's bloody hard work. I'd rather just turn up and tell people what to do and go home.
Exactly.
I must say that in radio, by nature, I think people are quite open and honest, because that's what we're doing all day. It's storytelling. It's what's the angle on this? Where is their story? Where is their interest? Everything is content. So I think more than, and I've worked most of my career in radio, and the little glimpses I've had of other people's work lives are probably a little bit different. I think there's probably a lot of oversharing in our offices. So we don't need to know about each other. But I think it means that because it's so cutthroat, we have how many 7 ratings day a year where you might lose your job, 8. So I think the way we get through that is the fact that we are very close and we become like family. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's a bad thing.
But it's the level that you choose, that you are comfortable with. And that's where the authenticity lies. It's not about the need of, like when somebody says, oh, I know so much about, I'm sharing all of this with you, so now I'm expecting you to reciprocate. It's doing it from where you want to go, not where they want you to go.
Yeah. My very best friend at work, who we've worked on shows together for years and years, and people think we're like this. But the level to which I share with her is so much greater than what's reciprocated. It's not unbalanced, but I've had to learn that is her, and that's what she's comfortable with, and I can't expect her to meet me at my level, because my level is not normal for her and it would not be fun for her. So that was a lesson to go, okay, I'm here, but she's here, and it's not my job to push her as a friend or as a work colleague.
And again, authenticity is also recognizing that you talk to her once as a friend and you've got a totally different bandwidth than when you talk to her as a colleague, I would expect.
Oh, we're still learning that
one. Okay. All right. Okay. So authenticity is a topic that has many, many layers. It's not as simple as I'm just going to share myself with you. Here I am. I'm just unpeeling all my inner layers. This is my inner world. These are all my emotions. I'm going to share all of that. There's far more to that than that. I mean, it would be lovely if we could imagine living in a telepathic world. That would be really authentic, wouldn't it? Maybe a little bit too authentic, but hey.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Angela.
Thanks,
we love
Angela.
you.
Bye-bye.